Welcome to the Fully Charged Plus podcast. I'm joined for this episode by old friend of the show. Not old, he's very young.
Thank you, careful, watch what you're saying.
Young friend of the show. But we've known each other quite a long time. Roger Atkins from Electric Vehicles Outlook.
That's where I'm from? Yes,
got it right.
That's exactly where I hang out. It's a shed in the garden, just to be geographically accurate.
As opposed to this highly luxury state-of-the-art studio.
Well, you're spoiling me, really. I feel like, I'm out of place here.
Yeah, well, it's the coolest place we could find. So we're in the shade. It's quite a sunny day. The batteries are charging, actually, as we speak.
Yes, they are.
Feel those electrons pumping out.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Anyway, we're going to talk about a few topics. But before we start, Roger, I've just got to remember, we would like to introduce a quick word from our wonderful, generous sponsors who make making the Fully Charged Plus podcast a possibility. Over to them.
My Energy is putting the I back into British innovation. My Energy is putting the I back into inventing the future. My Energy is putting the I back into inspiring a nation. Recharging the world with green, smart energy. Charge your EV with your PV and more. Visit myenergy.com and help to spark the green revolution. My Energy, driving the charge to a greener future.
So thank you very much for supporting the Fully Charged Plus podcast. I'm back here with the wonderful Roger Atkins, and we're going to go through some news stories. I don't know. I've got a little list.
Oh, a list.
Just now it's going to make a noise on my microphone.
Yeah, I have to have a list these days.
I mean, do you want to? So
I forget stuff.
Well, you were interested in that. The 100,000th BYD. This is relevant to all the things we're talking about. So
yes.
BYD, we've done an episode about them recently. Elliot went around their big factory in China and drove everything they make: buses and trucks and vans and everything. Most of the electric buses in London are built by BYD. But they've just made their 100,000th Han. And I mean, what's amazing about this is we don't know this car in this country because I don't think it's not for sale, is it, outside China? Might be in the United States.
Not Han isn't. No, you've got a number of BYD cars that are here and there and whatever. And so I think that's a milestone, a big milestone.
Yeah, 100. Because I mean, if that was say Jaguar had made their 100,000th I-Pace, that we'd be talking about that.
Oh, heck yeah.
I don't know how many they have made, but it's probably...
Not as many as 100,000, there's no doubt about that. I think they'd like to make a few more, but that's another story for another time.
Okay.
But no, I think BYD don't get the kind of plaudits or the credit that they should.
Yeah, well, they certainly don't get the attention that like Tesla would get.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I do think that if you look at where they've been, where they've come from, what they do, all the activity that they've been involved in, and the fact that, to my mind, they focus on buses.
Yes.
And increasingly trucks and vans as well as cars. I like that. I think that has personally been the trajectory for electric vehicles that would have been better to see around the world, a bit more of commercial vehicles.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
I don't want to start banging on about it because I'm sure people that maybe have heard me before saying things think, oh, here we go again, doesn't like cars, just likes buses, vans and trucks. Get over it. I can't help myself, sorry.
I think it's right for both of us to pre-comment. Yeah. It's like that Tom Cruise film where the pre-crime.
Yes.
So you stop the crime before it happens, and we're doing we pre-comment ourselves, pre-criticism.
Yeah, nothing wrong with a bit of pre.
But you're right. I mean, because I actually think that we're going to see. It's not rocket science. It's very simple. We're going to see far more fleet vehicles, commercial electric vehicles, before more private cars. I mean, and there has been an explosion in electric cars, private cars. But
Rob, don't say that. Don't say there's been an explosion in electric cars. That's
you're pre-commenting.
People that don't like them and don't like batteries, they think, there you go.
They all explode.
It's all coming out now. I think the realisation is certainly in defined mileage, urban operating, and back to base vehicles. It's the economic imperative now. Put to one side the environment.
Yeah,
I know you shouldn't, but it's what it's all about. But I think now fleet operators and quite a lot of people running all sorts of vehicles have.
Yeah, there you go. There's Mum just feeding the baby.
Yeah, nice.
Actually, the babies. We've got an audience.
Yeah, it's a Swift, audience, by the way.
Some Swifts.
In case you thought,
there's four little heads looking down.
Oh yeah, wow, amazing.
As long as they don't poo down, I'm happy.
Yeah. So the thing is, what was I saying? Forgotten now.
Yeah. about commercial vehicles, about the economics of running a big electric fleet.
And weirdly, almost wearing the same clothes, probably in exactly the same position, 4 years ago, that's kind of what we were talking about here. Where eco, becomes the economic thing.
Yeah.
The imperative towards electrification is driven by economics, not, if you like, the sense of purpose towards clean air and climate change. You'd like to think they'd be the principal movers, but they haven't been.
Yeah.
It is now economics.
Yeah.
So that's right.
It's when you see, the other day I was walking through West London past, and I can't remember the name of the garage, but Londoners will know where it is. It's sort of Notting Hill, Ladbroke Grovey. There's a big Transport for London bus garage. It's been there for years, not new, and it's sort of been built out over the main train line that comes into Paddington Station. So there is a new bit to it. What did I see along one wall just forever was chargers, huge yellow chargers for all the electric buses. And then you go, which is a thing we want to do an episode about, but how do you charge those buses? But one of the things we heard recently from someone who works at TfL is in one of the garages, they've now done the first year economic breakdown. They're running, I don't know what it is, 60 double-decker and single-decker pure electric buses. Oh,
it's all right, it just makes noises.
And it's about £100,000 a month they're saving. And that includes maintenance, electricity costs, everything. They're saving.
Do you know what they call that, Rob, in modern parlance? A no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer.
I've always thought no-brainer sounds horrible, doesn't it? If you haven't got a brain, how can you think about anything anyway? It's like, what? But a very quick segue, if I may, forgive this indulgence, but it's all relevant. BYD buses in America getting wirelessly charged, high-power wirelessly charged, very quickly to extend their range.
Right.
So there are quite a few now, dozens and dozens, maybe more than I think actually, of BYD electric buses being wirelessly charged in America, and that's coming to Europe soon and in many other areas. So that's one of the areas where you don't have to have all that depot charging.
Yes.
You can charge en route, out and about.
Yeah.
So, but that's, again,
I think that is
another story for another time.
It is another, but I think that one of the beauties of living in a transmogrified Roman/medieval city, London, with its winding, narrow roads, it's not built on a grid like a sensible modern city.
No.
And it's quite compact. The actual distance from the Peckham garage up to the Notting Hill garage is in miles. Is like 10. Those buses are doing 10 or 11 miles on a run. Yeah. They're not doing 50 or 60 or 100 miles.
No, that's the thing. But can I just make an observation? When you started talking like that, all those nice words, I found it, mildly arousing. I hope don't mind me saying that.
Is it the Cockney accent?
No, it's just the love of the English.
The Mockney accent. I want to be very clear.
The love of the English accent, if I can say it properly. The English language. Using nice words, not to be flashy, but because they're interesting and often they're words that are rarely used. And you've got to use them properly and in context. But it's nice to hear. So well done, you.
It's completely stumped me. Well, let's go. I want to go for a quick rant. I just want to do this other story.
Yeah, go for it.
So, a really good friend of mine, Christoph, I love him very much, and he sent me, absolutely with good heart, an article from the Times newspaper in the United Kingdom. Very, very, if not the oldest, one of the oldest established newspapers on the planet. The Thunderer.
Yep. And
it's a cut and paste job from a piece of fossil fuel lobbying, press release. And it's because they know how to do that. They're not going, electric cars don't work, they explode. They did that, and that didn't work. The batteries will run out in 2 weeks. No, they didn't do that. We're concerned, well, this is the line, electric cars will undoubtedly clean up our cities. Yeah. However, lingering concerns remain over emissions generated by the manufacturing process and production of energy to charge vehicle batteries. So just how green are electric cars? And the article then goes into what it actually says in the fullness of the article is they are cleaner. That's the irony of it. They actually are. But that made me have a bit of a rant just because of the lazy, sloppy, they call it journalism. It's not at all. But a study from the ICCT, and I can't now remember what that stands for, the International something or other. But they've done a 6-year investigation breaking down every step. The digger, how much diesel does the digger use that digs out, puts it on the truck, how much does that use to get it up there, puts it on the ship, how much does that use? All that stuff.
The audit trail
down to microscopic level, they are cleaner.
That's it then.
It's a 70% smaller CO2 footprint well to wheel, start to finish than a combustion car.
Well, as you've explained to people for so many years, for sure you should analyse these things.
Yeah,
yes,
we should
do that
know.
audit trail.
Yeah.
But the thing that lasts the longest is in operation, what it's going to do during its life.
Yeah.
So absolutely look at the production process and all those things that come together. But then it's in use that's the fundamental. That's the critical.
And
thing.
and that's the thing is we didn't. I think the all reservations about any technology are absolutely fine. We should have them. We should ask those questions. Absolutely. Where do these materials come from? What happens to them at the end of life? But here's the thing that I think that really galls me, and it's very specific to automotive journalists, old school automotive journalists. And that's a wide group of people with many different opinions. But 25 years ago, a new Rover came out, a new Toyota came out, a new Ford came out. No one ever said, well, where do the materials come from that make these new tungsten carbide valve seatings? Because they're amazing, because they're more efficient. Where did the aluminium come from for the bodywork? Where did the materials come from? No one talked about it. Now, automotive journalists are like eco-warrior activists. Oh, well, I don't know if I like this car because is the material recyclable? You tosser is basically what I want to say. You hypocritical old git.
I think they're on the run, as it were. I think it's backs to the wall. But one area, I don't know if you've covered this before, but tyres, the particulate emissions from tyres.
We're just about to do big particulates episodes, because there's some really interesting stuff. Did you prompt me to
ask you on that?
I did not.
Is it about... Neutral. And again, definitely not. This is definitely not... It's going to seem like it is, but is it that Icelandic company called Enso, E-N-S-O?
E-N-S-O, very important company.
Right,
yes, we're doing some stuff with them,
Right. Oh, right.
And their business model is really interesting, isn't it? I mean, it's not so much. I think the materials in their tyres are different anyway.
Yeah.
But the idea is you don't buy a tyre, wear it out, and then buy another one. You lease a tyre from them.
Yes.
So from their point of view, their business model works the best the longer you pay that lease.
Do you know what that is, Bob?
What's that called?
That's a rubbery business model, isn't it? Very rubbery. I like it.
What I'm trying
keep it in.
I'm
it's
suppressing
fine.
the desire
don't do it.
To do a Benny Hill offensive racist accent. I'm not going to do it.
I just said it's rubbery because tyres are made of rubber.
Well,
that's all I said.
You might be wrong there. They might not be made of rubber now. They may be new materials, which is what Enso are all about. Cheese. It's very highly baked cheesecake.
Yeah. No. I think.
But I mean, that is a really. So what they want?
Compound.
They want your tyre to last far longer than tyres do now because that will make them more money.
Yeah.
Because the less often they have to replace the tyres on your car, the more money they make because you're paying a lease on the tyres, and that lease on the tyres. When I went, oh God, so you're paying 80 quid a month for your tyres? No, it's like a few pounds a month. It's not very much.
In the bigger picture thing now, picking up on that. Of this transition that the auto industry is in the midst of. This is one of the fundamental challenges is what are the recurring revenues?
Yeah.
What are the things that you can make money from
after you've sold the car?
Yeah, exactly. So I guess we'll come on to that with a few things. But, software, energy, the electrons going into it, they're two of the big ones.
Yeah.
But, you've got to replace all those friction parts, belts, chains, lubricants, all the rest of it. Well, you've got to try and replace those with something else to have a business model to make it worthwhile doing it. Otherwise, why bother?
Yeah, I mean that is the big thing that I'm really hoping we can cover at some point because clearly it's a very sensitive and delicate topic for big legacy manufacturers. Because I want to go to a dealership and go, and just tell us how the business works. Yeah. So you sell this car, petrol car, for what, £14,000.
Yep.
And I want to find out how much it really costs to make. And I think we're going to find out it cost about £15,000 to make. But they know they're going to make £20,000 in the next 5 years from spare parts, from...
Exactly. Finance has always been a big one.
Yeah.
In a former life, when you were like obnobbing it with all those acting people and all the rest of that...
When I was living my massive red carpet celeb
all
super
of that
life.
Stuff. In Hollywood and all those things. I was a zone manager for a car company, so I got to understand, how does this work? So for example, what you'd call net profit as a percentage of turnover. So let's say for every £100 you put in the till in a dealership, you're probably only keeping at best £1 or £2.
Right.
So 2 or 3% net profit as a percentage of turnover after you pay for all the other bills and all the rest of that.
But I mean, if your gross turnover is hundreds of millions, then
that's
obviously
the
that's
point.
a chunk of money.
You have to get scale. That's how the auto industry's always worked. But when you look then at the bottom line of either a manufacturer or a dealer and look at where those friction parts, those things that are now not there with electric vehicles, it's anything between 20 and 30% of the bottom line's just washed away, gone away.
Right, which is a big chunk.
This is why then you're starting to see the move towards direct sales models.
Right.
Because, you can't just survive on the sales margin alone.
Right.
And there is now, quite a big shift going on around, how do we reconcile all this with dealers and all the other bits and pieces? But yeah, we could talk about details some other time. What they call the bill of materials, the thing that had to get put together to make the vehicle in the first place, the cost of manufacture, and then what they call landed cost of a vehicle. So, for example, your Tesla, your Model 3, how much does that cost to buy? They're about 50 grand, aren't they? Something like that?
45. They were in the sort of 40 to 45 range.
Yeah, so
I
would say typically, that would be landing for a cost of, say, at least 25-30% less than that.
Right.
And then the cost of, shipping, distribution, some dealer margin of probably anything between 5 and 10%.
Right.
So, and someone's going to make money out of all of this. Otherwise, you're only involved in it because you're running a business trying to make money.
Yes, yeah.
But, it's nice, but it's a rabbit hole. Let's not go down the rabbit hole now.
Yeah. Talk about your book, because I'm interested in that.
It's not my book.
No.
I just want to say that.
No, but this is welcome to Roger's Book Club.
Yeah, we like to do this is a little book bit. The Good Ancestor: How to Think Long-Term in a Short-Term World by Roman Krznaric.
Never heard of him or the book. It's really good.
Have a look. You can see I haven't read it all yet, but from what I have read so far, what I love about it is it's saying we're all ancestors and we're all going to leave something but behind. So we should damn well leave something good.
Wow.
The reason why we're not talking to people from a cave is that at some point someone in a cave walked out and decided to do something about the future. And they built a helicopter.
Yes.
Obviously not back in caveman days, but over time, innovation, technology, progress, all these things happened, and we are now the beneficiaries of them.
Of huge amounts of human effort. Yeah.
Who found a way of making and distributing electricity? Who found a way of getting agriculture to be able to feed millions of people? People before us have done all those things to enable us to live the lifestyle we live. So what the book is articulating is that we should now start thinking a little bit more, long-term thinking about, what's our legacy going to be?
Yeah.
What are we going to leave behind? And okay, the kind of major narrative at the moment is climate change. Why don't we actually try and leave a habitable planet to people? That would be nice. Now,
it's not such a big ask.
No, not really. We were left a good one. So why shouldn't we leave a good one for those to come? But it's a lot more than that. So I just think it's a lovely book because it's opening up my mind. I haven't read it all yet, but opening up my mind to think a bit bigger. Just think a bit more long term, and definitely don't just think about what's in it for me. Today, this year, the next 5 years.
Yes.
It's our ancestors. Think about our, the ancestors to come. So I love it. I think it's a lovely book.
Because I was thinking that the other day is what we're leaving, our legacy that we're leaving our children and grandchildren is quite chunky and difficult. And then if you go back, I'm going to use a contentious topic to describe this, but I met an actress, I don't know 25 years ago, who has the same name as I do, Llewellyn, except she's West Indian. She's black, so she's she's African originally, but she is a Llewellyn. And of course, it's such a long time ago, I can't remember her first name, so I'm really embarrassed. But that is a legacy that I have to carry. There's no known connection between us. But the fact that there aren't a big lot of Llewellyns in West Africa. There just aren't.
Probably not.
No,
I can't.
So she was given that name at some point in her family history from a Welsh sailor or a slave trader somehow in that process. And that then comes back to me. So that is a legacy I've inherited. I didn't do any of that. I've not been a slave trader. I think it's an obnoxious, foul, disgraceful thing. But I have to own some of that. Because you can't not. So in the future, you then go, well, what are we leaving? 100 years' time, people will look back and go, did they really all fly around all the time and drive cars that had explosions in them that produced loads of gas? And didn't they know? Particularly now, we do know. So we're still doing it, and that's you could argue there might have been early slave traders who didn't ever think about it was wrong. By the end of the slave trade, there was a huge public opinion that was saying this is really bad, and there
absolutely.
were still people doing it. That's
Absolutely. I think it is that thing of awareness. You're right. And, you actually have a duty to right the wrongs as best you can. You can't change the past.
No.
Of course you can't. But what you can change is the future.
Yeah.
You can change today and you can change the future. That's, again, lot of the points in the book in there. And to your point about, meeting what I'm sure was a lovely actress all those years ago, it is that, it's only by, as they say, 6 degrees of separation that we're all connected.
Yeah.
Everybody by 6 degrees of... is it in a book or something that? I say it a lot, but
there is a book about it, and there was
is
also
that mathematically correct?
Absolutely. And the Kevin Bacon is the obvious one. So there was a whole thing about,
What do you mean he's the obvious
Well, no,
one? I don't know what you're
someone's
talking
done.
about.
There's a Kevin Bacon. Someone will leave a comment to explain it, but there's a Kevin Bacon thing where, particularly if you've done any acting, I am two steps from Kevin Bacon. So someone I've worked with has worked with Kevin Bacon.
Right.
And so I've never met Kevin Bacon. I don't think about him, but I've got that close.
He speaks very highly of you.
I think he's a big fan. He's a Patreon supporter, I think.
Yeah.
But there are people who are the number of people who've got that closer connection with Kevin Bacon is in the millions.
Yeah.
And it's so weird because you think, well, he's an actor, So there's not millions of actors, but what it is that there he is. There's an actor that worked with him. There's someone else. There's their mum. Oh, okay. So my mum is 3 steps from Kevin. You're probably 4, 3 or 4.
An actress lady.
She could be 1 step. I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah. Sorry, but that was that. It was a way of describing the 6 degrees. How closally we are all connected.
Oh, we absolutely are.
Is,
and I think then that realization that we're all connected and we're all connected to the planet, and that whole kind of sense of belonging, to something, this organic thing.
Yeah.
I think that is an awareness that I hope more and more people have. The truth is, a lot of countries and a lot of cultures have always had this. It's never gone away.
Yeah.
We've lost it.
Yes.
And I also think around the world, so many people now live in cities. I can't remember what the number is, but more people live in cities.
Yeah, they
than
never
don't.
have before. Sure.
So they don't see food growing. They
Yeah.
don't see animals in the fields.
No.
They don't. All this stuff they think, and understandably so, just gets made.
Yeah.
So I think the disconnect with nature has been probably the most profound thing that's taken us away from what we always used to know. And like I said, the people that aren't city dwellers still probably do. And that then gives you that keen awareness and that attitude of mind, and hopefully then that behaviour that is a little bit more, kind to everything around you.
Yeah. No, it is a difficult one, isn't it? Because you just know that. In fact, my children have said that they've had mates that didn't know where milk came from. I mean, they kind of did, but they didn't know it actually came out of a cow. They've seen cows printed on the front of the thing. They thought that milk was made for cows, but we drink it as well, which it is. But they'd never made that because they'd never seen it. And my kids, they don't. They've got the
comes from the fridge, Rob.
But they've got the smallest interest in agriculture and farming. But they grew up next to cows with sheep there, with people who killed cows down the road, and they went to their mates' farms where they were milking cows. So they just know it in their brain, in their DNA. They've not had it explained or taught it, but they kind of know. So they're really staggered now when they meet people, of course, grew up in the middle of London, never exposed to that, never saw it. Which is not that new. My mum, when she lived out here, not far from where I am now, had the kids who were sent out of London. What were they called?
Evacuees?
Evacuees.
Yeah.
She had 3 little kids from Hackney. Yeah. And they went and she poured them milk one morning because they got their milk from the farm.
Yes.
And they went, I'm not drinking that, it's out of a cow. And they wouldn't eat potatoes because they're dirty. And they wanted chips.
Oh, nice.
You go, well, that's crazy. Back then it was different. No, it's the same.
Yeah.
It's not that different.
Yeah. You know what you know.
We're now going off on like 2 old fellas going, the young people today don't even know where milk comes from. Oats. I think oats is where milk comes from.
Yeah. Very good. What were we talking about?
I can't remember that book though, but that legacy and all that stuff.
Fine,
here's a question then, because I hate talking about the pandemic, but let's just mention it. The psychological impact of the pandemic, of the floods in Germany, because I know that area. That is proper frighteningly horrifying. A mate of mine lives very near that area, wasn't directly affected. Fires in California, fires in Siberia, which we kind of know, massive fires in Siberia, massive heat wave fires in Australia, droughts in Australia that have gone on for decades. Are more people going, oh, I think this actually could be a problem now than were, say, 5 years ago?
I think, definitely yes. The answer is yes. It's sad that it actually takes that rather than suggesting, science suggesting this is going to come if we don't do whatever. But if there's one thing, I think over time you realise for most of us, certainly I'll confess to this, is, you keep putting things off. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. So many things that you could do now, but you don't. But whether we're capable as a species to make up for lost time and do it, that's the worry now, that there isn't a kind of a process, almost like a chemical, literally a chemical process underway that's kind of unstoppable. That's really the worrying thing. Yeah. But I think the science of it is getting a little bit more, because it's, people see the weather patterns and what's happening and think, why hasn't it been sunny or why has it been too hot and sunny for too long, or rainy for too long? Yeah. Oh, it's that thing, called the jet stream. Well, why is that moving around? Well, that's because of the polar vortex has changed. The temperature's been rising, and therefore that polar vortex that spins around as the Earth's orbiting is shifting the way that those weather systems are all working, and then it pushes weather patterns into unusual places, and they stick there for a while. For much longer than they've ever done before, because the jet stream is now behaving radically differently than it has for centuries, or even millennia. And it's just,
because actually there was a woman on the radio.
Tangible then.
Yeah, it is tangible. But the woman on the radio I heard the other day, meteorologist, who explained what happened in Germany so clearly and why it's freakish. So I was in London, and I was driving out with Judy, with my wife, coming back here in the afternoon, and the rain was comically torrential. I mean, like I've seen in Australia when they get proper tropical down. Yeah. And we were driving on the Westway, which is a raised highway bridge for people who don't know London. So you're off above the ground, and we were driving through, I'd say, getting on for 2 feet of water, proper deep water. You could see the trucks going, everyone was going at like 4 miles an hour, and you're going, well, hang on, we're up in the air, and it's flooded.
It's madness, isn't it?
So the drains just couldn't manage this thing, but it was pretty fleeting, like 20 minutes. And there were bad floods. Richmond got flooded. Lots of places did have floods. Hampstead somehow. But the thing is, that was the same rain that then went over the Netherlands and Germany. But when it got to, and it flooded places in the Netherlands, it flooded places in Germany, in Belgium, Luxembourg. But when it got to Germany, because of the change in the jet stream, and different weather conditions the other side, it stopped.
Yeah, it stopped moving.
So then it was doing that deluge for hours, and they got 3 months of rain in 4 hours. So just all the rivers burst and flooded. I mean, that does not normally, that rain's not unusual. I've seen that rain here before, but it moves off. And this wasn't moving off, this stayed still.
I've been in places where that happens. You get an absolute deluge of a downpour, but like you say, it's sometimes over in 5 minutes. But if it's not over in 5 hours, you're in big trouble.
You're in big trouble.
Big trouble.
Which is what happened there.
Yep.
But we have to hope. I mean, I think that's the thing I feel more now. Like 5 years ago, I would do all the arguments about electric vehicles and the transition to renewables and how important that was, in a way that, it's going to happen anyway, and it is happening, and there's more offshore wind being put in here, there's more solar, more people are putting in batteries in the houses, blah, blah. And now I'm thinking, not next week, mate. No, now. Don't build the new coal. No, you cannot be building a new coal. We should mention that. A new coal, but even if it's for steel, work out how to make steel without burning coal. You numpty, do not start taking
but,
up
But I think that there's another, it's complex, but there's another important dynamic to a lot of what you're suggesting and the change that we need and all that is efficiency. Is the ability of things to become better, more efficient. And even if we can't take ourselves away from some of the relatively bad habits, things that perhaps we don't see as bad habits, but do have unintended consequences. If we can have technology improve those things, look at the efficiency of lighting now compared to even 5 years ago, certainly 10 or 20 years ago. LED lighting is massively more efficient.
It's made a genuine huge impact in this
country.
Huge
impact. In fact, it's even reduced the energy consumption on the national grid.
Of the whole country. It's gone down.
So you think this is big stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that that kind of technology, for example, and other things coming, and we can come on to electric vehicles and batteries, perhaps, because that again is where we're seeing greater energy density, but not just that, greater efficiency in terms of how the regen systems are working in a vehicle, how the battery management system is managing the process of charge and discharge, etc.
Yeah.
All of that are ways in which we're getting, if you like, more out of the same.
Yeah.
Improved efficiency,
Yes.
in a single word. What else was on your list?
There was some other ones.
We've got to talk through.
There. Well, there was I think this one is quite. This is the one let's do the Kia EV6, because we've been doing a lot of stuff with the Kia EV6. The fact that they predicted the range is basically around 300 miles, and actually now it's been tested, people are getting 528 kilometres or 328 miles. They've actually done that in tests. Real world miles. But I mean, that will be in, I think, 35 miles an hour on a flat circuit in the summer in the Netherlands. It's not. But the fact is that there's now what will become a fairly mid-range, mid-market vehicle that goes over 300 miles, which even 3 years ago, how do you get an electric car that goes over 300 miles? You pay an enormous amount of money to Tesla. That's the only way you could get one. Or now, an even more amount of money to Mercedes with the EQS, which is stunning, but will do,
Yeah, you had a go in that, didn't you?
It's beautiful. Yeah, we're going to have another proper. Jack's going to review it properly. But it's. I think I could have got 400 miles on one charge out of that in the right circumstances, but 350 without any effort.
But that's the thing now. Kia, Hyundai, they've been coming to market with these products definitely with better efficiency.
Yeah.
Buffering up to as good as Tesla are.
Yeah.
So I think the others have no choice but to find out what is that kind of
why can they
secret
do
sauce or whatever. Well, I think it's a
amazing.
combination of things. I think one of the predominant features that we've seen in recent times, Rob, has been that OEMs have been mildly paranoid about the battery and have protected it. So the usable battery within a 90 kilowatt battery pack often is like 70 kilowatts.
Yeah.
Because they're just trying to, protect either end and make it last a lot longer. And someone said to me, and I don't know if this is true, one of the other aspects was that some of them, because they're using Samsung or LG batteries or wherever they're from, that the warranty they have means that they have to put that performance into the battery.
The warranty they get from the battery manufacturer.
Correct.
Right.
So they're, if you like, the warranty you've got as a customer to the manufacturer is then in turn offset back to their supplier. So that's where I think they're being super cautious. But I think then over time, as Tesla have found, when the performance of the batteries, the charging regimes people have, and all those other things are, benign, you can then expand that, usable battery capacity, and get better range and performance.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it is.
Yeah. No, it is. I mean, it's an amazing looking car as well. The EV6 is a bit special.
They are.
When you think of, because I just think of, this is why I'm so reliant on Jack on fully charged, because he knows about cars. But when I go, Kia, 10 years ago, someone said Kia, and I go, Kia, I'm just not interested.
No, they're very nice cars.
Wow,
good,
beautifully
good
made
fit and
as well.
finish.
Really
Exactly.
good. Yeah.
Well made. Yeah. Good fit and finish. And performance. It's just that weird thing that we've all been seduced by over decades called brand.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's nuts, really.
Yeah.
Brand.
Because I've been trying to write about that, why I won't be a Tesla fanboy, for example, and I'll be critical of Tesla if I think it's warranted. And there are things about my Model 3 that really annoy me properly.
You are a bit of a Tesla fanboy.
But I don't want to be.
Because... What car did you have before that then, just out of interest?
Tesla.
You had a Tesla, all right. Oh, look, that's behind us. They're creeping up on us.
Okay.
Apart from the energy storage, apart from the previous car that was a Tesla, apart from the current car that's a Tesla, you're not a Tesla fanboy.
But I mean, I wouldn't defend a brand. What the hell? I'm not good at nationalism, so I wouldn't defend my country, because my country's done lots of bad things as well as lots of amazingly good things. So in a sense, you apply that to that. It's like Apple computers. I don't care. And if it's annoying, which Apple computers are, I'm going to say it's annoying, but then you get such vociferous hatred if you're fractionally critical of Tesla. From Tesla, I mean, they're devotees. It's a religion.
Yeah, that stuff does irritate me, to be honest with you. I've leased a Tesla briefly before from the guys at Electric Zoo. Lash at Electric Zoo kindly let me have a short-term lease.
What an amazing family!
Lovely people.
Yeah.
So that was nice. And I did like the car, but I just sort of, and of course the charging thing is so seductive with Tesla. Oh, we should talk about that.
Well, that's what we should go on to.
Yes.
So, because I'm going to be intrigued to see how Tesla devotees, and that's a very specific small group of people who drive. So most people who drive Teslas drive them because they're really good cars, and they can charge them anyway. Then there's Tesla devotees who, I don't even know what motivates them, but they're full of venom and hatred for me if I ever dare say anything critical.
It's a tribal thing.
But what it does sound like they're going to do it. So Elon Musk has said twice now, apparently, that he's going to open the Tesla supercharging network to other manufacturers later this year. So I just wanted to check. So there are now 25,000 superchargers at 2,700 locations around the world, which is quite a lot, actually, when you think of how often you actually use them.
And when you don't have a Tesla, I think you see them more than Tesla owners.
You might notice them more.
And you have that, charging envy.
Yeah.
That whole thing of A, they're available.
Yeah.
B, you know their work.
Yeah.
And C, you just plug it in and it does
easy to use. So that's going to be the good thing, I think. So let's say Jaguar do a deal with Tesla, and you can drive your I-Pace up to the charger. The software in that car has got to communicate with that charger so that you pay for that electricity.
And also, you're going to have an adapter, aren't you? Because,
we've got CCS in this country.
Right, of course we have, yes.
In America, they've got to do something. They've got
there were some comments, I put something on LinkedIn, there were some comments around not just the charging proposition, but the placement of the charging port, where you are in terms of proximity, length of the cable.
Yes, that's true. They're not that long.
Length is important when it comes to charging. And the thing there is, I'm sure you've seen it, you've made lots of videos on it, where some charging propositions, you have to get right up close to them, almost like bash it over.
Yeah.
I'm sure some of them have been knocked over.
Yes, they have.
Just to get the damn thing plugged in. So I think there are some practicalities around it. But I think, they built this estate of charging proposition, which can be, and I'm sure will be, a business.
Yeah.
They have a magnificent recurring revenue proposition there. So if I rock up in the Jaguar and you're there with the Tesla, you should, I think it would only be fair and proper, you get priority, but how that's going to work, I don't know. And definitely you're going to be what do you get? What is it? 25 pence a kilowatt hour? What is it when you charge a Tesla?
Yes, I mean at the moment I've got a year where I'm not paying for it because of it's so confusing. It's the same as this. It's referral codes. So I've sold a lot of. I haven't sold any Teslas, but people have used my referral code to buy Teslas, which then gives you credit. So I've got 1 year of free supercharging
that's nice.
On that car, which is just about coming to an end, which is going to be a shock.
That's not nice.
No, it's less nice, but yeah, so it's 25p a kilowatt hour, which is actually below what a lot of public chargers.
Absolutely,
charge.
It's kind of like grid serve money.
Yeah.
But if you're then into other things, I think Ionity and.
Ionity is expensive, isn't it?
Yeah, and a few others.
Instavolt.
I like Instavolt.
I like Instavolt.
I like Instavolt. I would call it a prestige charging brand.
Yeah. Well, because it works.
Yeah. I've never been to an Instavolt charger that doesn't work.
Have you not? No, me neither. And I bet we'll hear from someone who has done, but I never have.
So in a way, and I think especially with Instavolt, where if you're on a business trip or like I went down to Devon recently, and I knew I'd have to get the car charged either on the way down or whilst I was down there. In the South Hams of Devon, it was a nightmare. There was nowhere to get charged. But I found an Instavolt charger, it was sort of 20 miles away.
Yeah.
But I knew it was worth going there because I knew it would work.
Yeah.
Well, I was super confident it would work, and it did. And it charged up quickly. So what I suppose the point I'm trying to ramble around to get to is that if I get access to the supercharger network, I know I'm going to have to pay a premium. I'm not going to pay 24, 25 pence
that's
kilowatt
true.
hour.
You probably will pay more.
I think I'll have to pay twice as much. Well, I've got two choices, haven't I?
Yeah.
Because the convenience and especially the time, and if you're on holiday or on a trip outside of your normal domain, where yes, you would have charged at home, blah blah blah, if you're able to. I think it's going to work well, but I think they'll calibrate it to not piss off the Tesla owners.
Yeah.
They'll try and find a way to do that, but bring in a revenue stream from all these other people who stupidly didn't buy a Tesla.
But I mean, it's going to be really intriguing because I've now had it twice since I've been driving Teslas for 6 years. There's now been 2 occasions where I've got to a supercharger, and they're all in use.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely everyone. But so this was like on a Friday evening, on before the bank holiday or something. I don't know what it was. But but even on the first time it happened, I went, oh my God, I've never seen this before.
Yeah.
I was actually excited.
Have you ever found one that didn't work?
Yeah, one.
Really?
One individual stall didn't work, and I had to move the car to the next one and plug it in. It worked.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah, once that's happened in 6 years. No, they've all worked. That's the only time it's ever happened. But even on that occasion, when I pulled up and there was 12 superchargers at that location, as I pulled up, someone came out of one, so I went in there. So I actually didn't wait at all. But that is going to happen, even with Teslas now.
Do you mind me asking, when you got there, did they know it was you?
I don't think anybody bothered. There was a time when people would.
See, what you could have done. I know you wouldn't have done this, but you could open the door.
Do you know who I am?
Do you know who I am?
And they'd have gone,
and they all would have moved. It would have been like Moses and the parting of the Red Sea. It's like, please, use my charger.
I think that's the case.
You wouldn't have done that. I know you wouldn't.
Well, I don't. Even if I did it, I think people would just go, "Who is that sad old man?"
Yeah. I was accused of being a knob the other day.
Oh, right.
By my son. He said to me, Dad, look, you wore the cowboy hat during the kind of lockdown thing when you're on Zoom for a bit of attention and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Fine, fair enough, you're a big kid, but don't go wandering around Goodwood with it on. How many people asked you where the horse was? I said, well, quite a few actually. He said, yeah, I'm not surprised because you look like a knob. So I didn't bring it today, as you can see.
I can deal with you without it, but I'm happy if you want to wear it.
No, I've been
restrict
told I can't. Yeah. I've been told I can't.
But then, you went to Goodwood?
Goodwood Festival of Speed. Yeah. Amazing. I know I've seen Jack's...
Jack did a report there, but it's pretty rushed.
So the Electric Avenue was mobbed.
That is extraordinary, isn't it?
It was unreal.
Is that the first year that's been there like that?
They've had electric cars there before.
They have,
but they haven't had a whole load of them there through this thing, Electric Avenue. I think British Volt sponsored it, which was great because obviously they're going to be an important player in the whole world of what's coming next. But it was great to be able to see in one place a whole range, rather than going to this dealer and that dealer and whatever. All of them, not all of them, but most of them all together. Right. They were there, including obviously the Rimats and the Pininfarina Battista. Yeah. So you had Exotica there, and you had Mini, Tesla, Hyundai. You had everything there. It was lovely. It felt joyous. Right. I really got to be honest with you.
And it was a popular thing with the people attending.
Hugely so. And think about it. The demographic is, I wouldn't say mostly male, but it's been a kind of petrol head thing for years, Goodwood. But what I noticed about the demographic, it seemed to me, was much more family thing. And given a lot of those people, yes, they like combustion engine noises and cars and the hill climb and everything, but there they were, crawling all over all the EVs.
Right.
They know what's coming. And I think blending these two worlds together and not being partisan or tribal about it all. That's the secret of this. Not to berate anyone who buys a petrol or diesel car at the moment, to help them see what choice there is and actively encourage them to move towards electrification. When it's going to work for them, but not to be too kind of preachy about it. But like the earlier point we made, when the economics of it are such that it's just cheaper, you think, well, you're a bit dozy if you don't then, aren't you? I think I'll spend a load more money than I really need to. What?
No, I think and that argument is, whatever your opinion of that or the actual economic structures that we live with at the moment, the one thing that's beyond doubt for everyone I've spoken to from every aspect of the automotive industry, the one thing that's happening is electric cars are going to get cheaper. And the running costs of fossil fuel cars is going to increase. That's just going to happen. It may be 5 years, it may even be 10 years away. But there's going to be a day you can go into a car showroom and they'll go, well, that's the petrol one, that's 20,000. That's the diesel, that's 19,000. That's the electric, it's 12.
I think so.
And they'll make a profit on the £12,000 one because it's cheaper to make.
I think so. And again, reflecting on when I sat here wearing the same jeans with the same shirt on 4 years ago.
You've looked after them well.
I have. Well, that's another thing. It's about efficiency.
Make it last. Yeah.
Efficiency of clothing. I think back then it was still like China had taken the lead with their kind of Made in China 2025 thing with electric vehicles and the battery thing and all of that. But now, here we are 4 years later, Europe has woken up in a big way.
Yeah.
America has woken up in a big way. So you've got these three regions now with all the geopolitical tensions in and around all of this shift, where now one after the other of the big OEMs and OEM groups have come together and said, right, that's it, 20 billion, 50 billion, 80 billion, whatever, vast sums of money. Announcing only yesterday, for example,
Daimler. The Daimler, I want to hear about the Daimler stuff,
announcing yesterday 8 gigafactories.
That they're building, that Daimler are building, is it?
Yes.
Right.
Massive plant, 40 or 50 billion investment. AMG, the kind of pinnacle piston
it's
engine.
It is pinnacle piston.
Quintessential kind of thing.
Yeah.
All electric.
Wow.
It's like game over for the internal combustion.
Yeah.
They'd said that a few years ago and put a deadline on it of 2039.
Right.
Pulled that right the way forward to 2030.
Right.
And certainly, there is something I'm going to come to that they did reference that stood out for me, but it was all incredibly encouraging, quite detailed and specific around battery chemistry, technology, capability, range. I was super impressed because I know I kind of banged on a bit about them 4 years ago, but that was because I had a chat with Ola Kalenius, who was R&D boss then, but head of the company now, and he said back then, 4 years ago, just a bit more, 5 to 10 years' time, we'll see the massive shift and uptake. And that's exactly what's happening now. But the thing that stood out for me, I won't call it a fly in the ointment, but the thing about charging infrastructure. He said, so given that the OEMs now are making these declarations of saying, okay, we won't make internal combustion anymore, we're just going to make electric vehicles, the charging infrastructure plea that he had now was to the authorities, was to governments, was to private and public enterprise to come together to look at making sure that this charging proposition overall was going to be ready, was going to work.
Yeah.
And we both know, it's still very fragmented and still very woolly. It's just, it's not fit for purpose, is it?
It's getting better in this country than it was, but it was so terrible that actually the fact that it's better now is not such a big leap.
That's right. And
so we are getting, I do feel long-term optimistic about it because I think the newer technology is more reliable, and that's from talking to people who are installing chargers. The new chargers work for longer without going wrong, and work with more cars. That's the.
Well, look, when you go and see something like that grid facility at Braintree, it's like this is the future.
Yeah, yeah.
And hasn't it interesting how? Not really much. I hadn't heard much of a peep from Shell, BP, all these other sort of people.
Yeah.
GridServe come along, build something which you thought, well, why hasn't Shell done that before now, or BP? And now suddenly they're all like, we're going to build electric charging stations.
Big charging stations.
We're going to do it. Yeah, but they've started doing it. They're going to build 100
done it.
we'll move 200 then. You think, good. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's just like what, as Tesla, we may not be fanboys. Well, I know you secretly are, but they, give them the credit. Give Elon Musk the credit. They triggered all of what's happening now. They absolutely did. Yeah. You don't have to even love the cars or whatever, but you have to deeply respect that they have, pushed, that they've made this happen.
Yeah.
And I think then when you have companies like GridServe and other people, they make stuff happen because they make the incumbents wake up and think, we better go with it as well.
Well, if you think back to 10 years ago, let's go back 10 years, loads of G-whizzes on the streets of London. Managing director, chief technical officer, people in the development at Jaguar Land Rover walked around London and went, do you know, I think we should make electric cars to compete with the G-Whiz. No, they didn't. No. They just thought they were ridiculous death traps, which they were.
Yeah, you had an IME. So
I had an IME,
quickly thinking back to when you had an IME. So my EV thing was more trucks and vans, which I won't start talking about now, I promise. But I know you had an IME, 10 years ago, maybe 12
11 years ago it was.
Yeah, exactly. What was the charging experience of that then? So you still lived here in the countryside?
Lived here. There was a special 3-pin plug put on that.
How did it work? How did you not gnaw your fingernails to
I could go 35 miles away and turn around and come back. Unless I went to Cirencester, which is about 35 miles, and then use the rapid charger.
Yeah, of course.
Which 9 times out of 10 didn't work.
There you go then.
And it wouldn't, we'd plug it in and the man would come down and we'd try and work out the instructions in Japanese.
Yeah.
So that was it. That was the only rapid charger.
Unless you had a really, really, really long extension cable, you were screwed.
You were screwed. So there's a farmer that I want to go back to. I know where he is. I could find him. That's in between Hay on Wye and here. So I went in it to Hay on Wye Book Festival.
Yeah.
which I just got there, and they let me plug in with a 3-pin plug for the entire. So I was there for the whole day. I was charging. I added probably 45 miles, which is nowhere near enough to get back. So there was no choice. So then started to drive back in the early evening. Luckily it was in the summer and it was light, and I saw a farm, and I've worked on farms, and I went, I bet he's got power in his barn. So it was quite easy to get. So I drove in and I knocked on the door and I said, look, I'm really sorry. I'm really happy to give you money, cash money. But if you don't, I'm going to be asleep up in a lay-by up the road because I'm in an electric car. Oh, no, bring it round here. And he went through all his things, and we actually charged it. I don't know how we did it. We had an adapter from his so he had 3-phase for running farm machinery.
Yes, of course.
There was a way that we adapted. I had lots of connectors in it anyway. So I was there for probably 2 hours. I had tea and cake with his lovely wife in the kitchen. We went out for a little walk around the field with his dogs.
Sounds like a little film, Rob.
Yeah, and then I left.
And what did he say at the end of it? And that would be £5 a kilowatt hour, please.
I did. I gave him 10 quid, and he didn't want it. And I said, "You're having it. I'm not. If you don't hold it, I'm going to throw it down on the floor." So I said, "You've been really generous, and I really appreciate it." And then I drove, and I got here just even then. That's how difficult it was. I mean, it was Now, I mean, it's so weird, isn't it? Because now I could drive to the Hay Festival in the Tesla, just leave it in the car park. Well, I've done it, and then just drive back and not even think about plugging it in or anything.
I remember those experiences. I used to drive the Modec electric van a few times home from the factory in Coventry to my house in Brackley.
Which isn't that far. I mean, what is it, 50, 45,
yeah,
50 miles?
but then the battery was okay. I think that was when we had let me think, that was a 55 kilowatt hour battery pack, lithium ion battery pack, and nominally it would do 100 miles.
Right.
But in the winter it would do like 80 miles. So I can recall a few times there where it would be like, and I'd, be driving back like really thinking, now which is going to be the best route to take to get the best regen? And all of that stuff that you do. But when you think about it, in that short period of time, look at how much the battery technology and all the other things has moved on.
And the cost of the batteries.
Oh,
yeah,
vastly so.
I mean, what would batteries have cost when in the Modec would have been?
I can actually tell you. So you go to someone and you say, would you like to buy this electric van? They go, oh, that's nice. Is it the future? And you go, oh, yeah, it's the future. And so they'd say, how much is it? And you'd say, 55,000. He says, I didn't hear what you said. Why is it so much? Well, the battery costs £30,000.
Right.
So a 52 kilowatt hour battery pack
costs £30,000.
Right. For the battery alone.
Yeah. Because now a 55 kilowatt hour battery pack would probably cost, in a pack ready to be installed in a car, £4,000.
A bit more. I'd say 5 or 6.
5 or 6.
I was going to say 5 or 6.
Okay.
You could be right. You know more than I do.
I mean, the actual manufacturer.
I just pretend to know more.
The manufacturer, the cost of the actual batteries is way less than that. It's about
it's less.
3,000 quid. Yeah. So it's gone down a lot anyway.
Well,
That's the gist
it's the classic economies of scale thing. The batteries we had were made Thunder Sky cells, made by Axion in Dundee.
Oh, right. Yes.
And and they were like learning. We were all learning on the job.
Everyone was learning.
But happy days.
Yeah.
Happy days. So let me just finish off on the Daimler thing. I think it's significant. I think it was significant when we heard about Volkswagen's plan, when we heard about Stellantis' plan, when we heard about
Nissan
Ford
recently.
and GM, and Nissan. But the bit for me, and I know the guys at Benchmark Miller and Simon Morse.
Yeah.
The biggest issue now for me in all of these deadlines and all let's have an EV, everyone have an EV, is upstream of the supply chain. This is going to be supply constrained. Yeah. They're all now building gigafactories, all now predicated on getting supply of the essential minerals to be mined, and then when they're mined to be processed. So it's a chemical process. So we've got a whole host of things that are rapidly being assembled in order to kind of join it up sequentially, in the timeline to be able to make the batteries, to make the electric vehicles, to sell them before we get to these, deadlines like 2030, not make any more petrol and diesel. The big risk is, with everyone else going in the right direction, everything else going in the right direction, the will of the public, the manufacturers, all the rest of that it just gets stymied to some extent, maybe a great extent, on that supply chain of essential minerals into the batteries. Yeah. I mean, you've talked to Simon a few times about this.
Yeah.
I mean, I follow a lot of what he's been saying because, I think it's significant. But the countermeasure to that then is, as we're starting to see, the OEMs, like Tesla, for example, investing in BHP, working with BHP, one of the, as you know, as from the Australian connections you've got,
huge
one of the
company,
biggest mining and mineral companies in the world. So one of the announcements yesterday from Daimler, if I remember correctly, was investing and working with Albemarle in terms of lithium supply.
Right.
So Albemarle is one of the biggest lithium suppliers in the world. Albemarle, SQ.
But the majority, it's the thing I didn't know, the majority of current lithium supplies from Australia. It's not from Chile and Argentina, which is what I assume.
Well, yes and no. I think about nearly half of it is what they call the lithium triangle in Argentina. Did I make up a country then?
Argentina. That's a beautiful
country. It's a new country. They just made it. That one, Chile and Bolivia, there's what they call the lithium triangle. Well, that's a triangle, isn't it? I was doing a circle. But yes, Australia is important. It's all kind of in the southern hemisphere.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
So you've got Africa, South America, Australia. This is where a lot of the mines are.
Yeah.
But then the mineral processing is a chemical process.
Yeah.
And this is where in the UK, for example, we've got great chemical processing capability. Companies like ICI, huge companies, and capabilities that you see in other European countries as well, of course, and in America, where the big challenge or the big opportunity to counteract some of the lead China has had is in that processing proposition.
Yeah.
Because, the mines and the minerals are where they are. You can't, it's where they are.
Yeah.
But if you can then, process the minerals adjacent to the battery factories, the gigafactories, not too far from the car production plants, that's where you'll then, again, going back to efficiency, reducing the amount of stuff moved around the world, taking down its carbon footprint, etc., etc. And this is the whole journey of evolution in the right way towards full electrification.
Yeah, and all that I want to always say is, for the last 120 years, it's been normal to drill a hole in the ground, and then when oil squirts up, it goes all over the place, and then you catch some of it, and then there's dangerous gases that come out with it, and that's all fine. And the massive ecological damage done by the oil industry all around the world is normal. That's fine. And then we refine that oil, which uses huge amounts of energy and electricity in particular, and releases huge amounts of CO2, and that's fine, that's normal. And then we put it in a car, and we burn it in an internal combustion engine and waste 75% of it, and that's fine and normal. I just want to keep hammering those points, and I want everybody who listens to hammer those points, because that isn't fine or normal. It's insane.
I think it's more than insane. It's lethal.
It's lethal.
It's like global suicide.
Yeah.
I mean, it is knowingly doing something that is going to kill you.
Yeah.
Is it's a horrible word because it's a horrible thing.
Yeah.
But that's kind of
what
what it sounds like. But very quickly on that point, so I met with a guy called Paddy Lowe, who is a race engineer.
Right.
He was a race engineer with Ayrton Senna, race engineer with Lewis Hamilton,
right.
Not that long ago, Nico Rosberg, Nigel Mansell, you name it. So he's clever,
right?
Because you have to be clever in Formula One and all that.
I think you do.
So he's developing a thing called petrosynthesis, which is to take the process from renewable energy production and utilize that as the feedstock into artificial petroleum.
Right.
Now, when I first heard about it, I thought, oh, hang on, this is definitely, it's like, where's the card? Where's the card?
Yes,
it's like moving on the card. You're tricking me. It's a trick.
Yeah.
So I went and talked to Paddy about this, and I said, so this is nothing to do with getting oil out of the ground. This is nothing to do with, the process exactly as you just described. That there's been nuts.
Yeah.
Certainly, once we understood the
damage that it did.
It's been nuts.
Yeah.
And he said, absolutely not. This is predicated on moving totally away from that. And so where that gets interesting is that's about synthetic fuel. It's another, petrosynthesis. So potentially in Formula One, you can still run combustion engines, but not on something that's been dug up and out of the ground and all the rest of that. This is where it's going to get really interesting, because I made a little documentary called Motorsport in the Electric Age.
That's right. We should plug that. Watch that.
Oh, thank you.
We'll put a link.
Yeah, I think it might even have been ready. It's taken forever, but anyway, sorry about that. But I went and talked to the guys at Formula One in Mercedes in Brackley, where I live, up in Brixworth, where they do high-performance powertrains. And because it struck me, these are really clever people, some of the best engineers in the world. They're not just going to sit back and watch all this happen and find themselves just, they're finished.
Yeah.
They can see what's going on with all the stuff we've been talking about.
And their whole business is technical innovation. I mean, that's what Formula One's done for the last 80 years
Rob,
or whatever.
Thank you, because that is what I hope comes across in the documentary from talking to these people.
Yeah.
And I think it was Jeff Willis, the Applied Sciences Director in Brackley at Mercedes F1, who sort of said, as good as, so we're going to reinvent ourselves as a technology solutions provider that happens to go racing on a Sunday. Rather than it's all about this combustion engine, Formula One car, blah, 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 blah. And therefore I think it's really exciting because they have profound capability in so many things over and above, you know, a flashy, fast racing car at the pinnacle of engineering and motorsport. So I hope, you know, there's no ulterior motive. I kind of saved up some pocket money and I paid for it myself and got you know, a guy who can really make nice film to put it together for me and edit it for me. Mark Taylor Hankins, really lovely guy. So I think you know him.
I do know him very well, and he is very lovely.
Yes. So very pleased with that. And there's no kind of, you know, I'm not banging a drum other than to say, let's talk to clever people, let's find out what they might be doing.
Yeah.
And there's the core theme, if there is such a thing, and it is, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah.
You know, all this stuff around the things that we know now have got to change. Don't just, you know, stick a pin in those people and, you know, say, die. Say to them, can you not change? Can you come up with a better idea, please? You know, and
I think it's also, you can't do, you know, one of the sort of the subtext phrases that we've used on Fully Charged is stop burning stuff, which I think I've always wanted to put in the caveats where you can. You know, because there's some things that you can't.
You can brackets, but get on with it.
Get on with it. Get on with it. All right. Stop burning stuff. Brackets where you can. Massive block capitals. Get on with it.
This is not an excuse to leave it another 10 years. You dumb. Can you do you bleep out swearing on this?
Yes, we can do.
You dumb. Because it seriously.
Yeah, no, it is. It's time to bloody do it. No, I mean,
when you see that stuff, and I'm, you know, I don't want to get emotional now, but when you see that stuff about what happened in Germany, and the mass migration that we've been having around the world before that, and the terrible crop failures and all these horrific things, it's like, how long do we, you know, how much longer do we leave it?
Yeah.
Should we leave another 5 years, 10 years? You know, what is too late?
Yeah.
I'd rather not find out what too late is, because when it is too late, that's just really, that's horrible.
Yeah.
So okay, I mustn't go. Can we talk a little bit about Fully Charged Live?
Yes. Yes, thank you.
So it's in
Completely
September.
forgotten. Yeah.
Yeah.
Third, fourth,
How can
fifth.
you forget?
No, I forgot to mention
it's not my show.
Because Dan emailed me the other day because I was on another podcast, and he said, "Don't forget the event." And I thought, oh my God, are we doing something now? And I've double booked.
Yes.
So I said, what event?
Yes. And you do what I do. Whenever you say something that has EV at the beginning of it, put it in block capitals and then little letters, the rest of it. Event.
Event.
Yeah.
So
it's in the
Farnborough
Airfield. It's going to be big, isn't it?
It's going to be huge. It's going to be much bigger than that.
I kind of know a little bit.
Well, I mean, every electric car that's commercially available in the UK now, we've got.
Any buses and trucks?
Buses and trucks.
Yes! Definitely
buses and trucks. Big thing there. I think it's out on the cusp. Non-ground based electric vehicles, i.e. things that fly. We've got. I think it's more likely we'll have people that are involved in it, and the actual things will appear next year because they're right on the cusp of revealing lots of stuff. Anyway, we don't need to go into that now. Bikes, scooters, all that stuff. Yeah. But also, really importantly, things like this: batteries, gateways. The white one behind you, that's a gateway. So we are having a scheduled power cut here week after next because they're replacing overhead lines. Right. And I know that we'll have power in the house because of that. So that cuts off the power going out into the grid when
that farmer down the road runs out. It'll be like, what's that thing, karma?
Yeah.
You know, it'll be popping by in his electric tractor and think, I wonder if Rob's got any power.
Yeah, because I let him charge in my barn.
That's
I'm going to bring my big electric tractor with a 5,000 kilowatt hour battery.
Yeah. So what are the dates then of the show?
3rd, 4th, 5th of September. Yeah. And there is public. The good things is, so when we did it at Silverstone, it's all brilliant, except no public transport. You had to drive there, at Farnborough, you can get a train to Farnborough Station. There will be a Tesla shuttle service from Farnborough Station to the site. It's about a mile away. And of course, the Tesla Owners Club are doing, and they love it.
I was channeling you there.
Yeah, sorry,
Did you see that?
Thank you. So they're doing, and there's going to be, it's like they're expecting 250 Teslas to do that. So the shuttle will be going.
At Silverstone, where you had all those Tesla owners driving people from the event up to the car parks with that. I bet you they sold thousands of Teslas out
the
of that.
amount of people that went.
It was brilliant.
Because I remember meeting a lovely family. It was exhausting, but a lovely family, and the dad was great. And he was going, "Oh, we've," and then the mum was going, "I can't believe I did not want to come here today, but it's been brilliant. Thank you so much. It's really nice to hear." And then the little boy just looked at me. "We went in a Tesla."
Yeah,
that's what he remembered.
Bums in seats, sells cars.
But that was so. Then there's talk. So you'll be. I'm sure are you on a panel or doing something?
Yeah,
you should be.
Apparently,
you will be.
Yeah.
Well, you'll be dragged in, kicking and screaming.
Oh, go on then, if I have to.
So there'll be an outdoor theatre, which is going to be so it's all outdoors. That's an important thing to.
I think that's quite smart. I tell you why. Hopefully the weather will be nice. Fingers crossed.
Well, generally that time of year here is not too bad.
Yeah.
September's.
Well, Senec's often around that time has always been.
Yes,
nice.
actually, hasn't it? Yeah, that's true.
So I don't think that's a bad shout. I think the other thing, I know we haven't talked about it much. We did a bit briefly. If we end up having a little bit of bother still with the thing, the fact you're doing it outside, I think, is a really smart call. Because I think then it's not going to be like, oh God, we've got to cancel again because it's indoors.
And also, I would think if I was a ticket holder for fully charged, and it's like, oh, I don't really want to go. That's why I wouldn't go if it was indoors and crowded.
Yeah, I think in all aspects, I think that's it's just a smart.
So we just have to hope. I mean, obviously, we have to hope that there isn't some other. Next phase of the pandemic that we can't even imagine. That means it's a full lockdown, or
I don't get it. I mean, have you been double jabbed?
Yeah,
I've been double jabbed.
Yeah,
we're keeping our distance still. But you kind of think if we believe in the whole thing of.
I mean, we can still get it, and I know now 2 or 3 people who've been double jabbed have got it, have tested positive, have been a bit poorly. That's how they described it. Not seriously ill. Old people not going into hospital. And if you look at the difference now. We are mentioning it now, but the one thing I didn't know was the connection between infection and the death rate. And when we last had infections at the height we've got them now in the UK, there was over 1,000 people a day dying. Yeah. And now there's about 20. So that's a big. And there's thousands of people catching it, but they're all 25.
It's a really serious thing. It's a real thing. But I'm totally bloody fed up.
Bored of it.
I'm fed up with it. I was fed up with bloody Brexit. Every bloody news bulletin. Brexit. Shut that up. And then we think, that's going. Yeah. Then this bloody thing came along.
Pandemic.
And every
I'd quite like some news about Brexit because it'd be refreshing.
There was some the other day. And I thought, thank God for that. Yeah, and I thought, what's happened to me? It's like, but it is that. Please just go away. I know there's very serious things, and I don't. We're laughing, but
we're being
don't make light of something.
No, which is killing people. I mean, there's 2 people I've.
Can I do another bleep thing again?
Yeah.
Can it please just? I had to do it. I've been wanting to do that for a while.
Good. On that note, I think we should wind up. Thank you so much, Roger. It's been brilliant. We've gone slightly over time, but I loved it. I love going slightly over time. And hopefully that's been an enjoyable experience for people who are listening. I hope people are listening rather than watching, because there hasn't been a lot to watch.
Not
just
really.
two old farts in a garage.
Yeah.
The Swifts were very beautiful when they flew in and out.
I think if you
can... The fellas up there now.
I think if you can, I'm sure you can do these clever things. If one of the Swifts does go by the camera, do it slow-mo.
Yeah, I could slow it right down.
That'd be nice.
Because they're amazing flyers. They're incredible. They're usually very sharp. They don't like coming in when I'm in here. But I sometimes... And in the past, I've put cameras right up in the rafters so you can see the little bubbers. But they've not come out their nest yet. They're still in there.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. So, I've not been Robert Llewellyn. I've been Roger Atkins. He's been Robert Llewellyn, and this is, what is it?
Fully Charged Plus
That's
podcast.
It, yes.
And as always, if you have been, you can say thank you for
listening.
Yeah.
And if you've been sneakily watching as well,